Alright, g'day. So this video is all about this waterfall edge using the pallet wood. Previous video is how I made these pallet wood brick or pallet wood slabs. So feel free and go and check that one out after you watch this one. Alright, okay. Just gluing up what's going to be the overflow or the waterfall feature on the sides. I normally glue up my whole corner slab in one go. I'm going to try something different on this one. I'm going to use a miter sled to cut my 45s. Okay, to get the stagger going, I just mix up the two different size lengths. That's going to let the brickwork begin. And that's how it gets its strength. Change of plan. I'm still going to do them in separate parts, but just to save on clamps, I'm going to put the other pair in as well. Then I can see how the corner is going to look and if the colours look pretty cool together. Just make sure you get no glue in here because the stick's good. Now, a lot of people ask me why don't I use biscuit joints very much. Well, there is so much gluing surface in here. The biscuits are mainly to align it, so I just find that I'm going to hit it with a belt sander if there's any irregularities anyway, but given the amount of work I've put into getting these nice and flat, they're actually lining up pretty nicely as is. Okay, it's all flat. There's a couple, you know, there's a mill here and there. It's not a big deal once we chop this up. I'm going to cut my 45s to get that waterfall feature. I've set the blade up. I've done a test cut on an old scrap piece because I've had a lot of dramas getting these 45s perfectly 45, if you will. I've got my old sled, so it's a bit of a sacrifice with this 45 cut. Hoping this works a little bit more seamless than previous ways. We'll see how we go. Alrighty, so the only purpose of this slow-mo is to show you that I'm at max for the blade. So about a 40mm slab, and the thickness of the sled, I am at the limit. Okay, I'm going to do some biscuit cuts with my router. It's not like a normal biscuit cutter where you just line up the line and slide him in and out. This one, you have to think about which direction you're moving to make sure your actual holes line up correctly. So this is all I've come up with. I treat it like my top and my bottom workpiece as I'm standing at it. And I just remember on the top, I've got to go right, and I've got to start with the right of the router, and on the bottom piece, I've got to start with the left of the router. Always traveling in the same direction, it just makes a difference, so these holes line up, which I'll try and show you. Not the greatest description, and again, it's all I've come up with, but it does the job for me. Alrighty, so top right, here's my marks. I'm going to enter from the right of the router. So okay, bottom left, spin around. We're going to enter from the left of the router. That's the only way I can remember it. So we're always traveling in the same direction, and we're always starting on the same marker. We're just choosing different sides of the router so that these biscuits then align, hopefully. So the goal here is basically to make sure this 45 is nice and flush. I want to clamp my two pieces together now before I start the 45 degree glue up. So a little bit of extra fiddling around, but it's always good to try new things, I reckon. So now that I've got multiple pieces, I'm just making sure that the opposite piece that matches all the grain is always there and I don't bugger up and glue the wrong ones together. So same process. This is my top. This is my bottom. And I'm just going to write on it because I'm simple. So I just mark out 40mm segments. I know that's enough distance for the router to travel to take these biscuits. So the biscuit's going to help me out keeping this nice and flat. The most important part is that this 45 is also aligned perfectly, so when they fold together, it all comes together. Okay, so that one's all good. Then just clamps on both sides to make sure that this doesn't bow out and throw out my 45 as well. If nothing else, just throwing some biscuit joints in here and there, it really is just going to make you feel good on the inside. And that's what it's all about. Wanker. Just got to get down left. Alright, I want to try something different here. I want to get biscuit joints in to strengthen up these and help align these 45s. I don't have a biscuit cutter. I'm again going to use my trim router. Now you obviously can't use a trim router because it's 45 degrees. So what I've done is stuck two boards back to back and created this right angle, which in theory should allow me to cut a slot that will take the biscuits, as long as I can get the router bit out far enough so that the router bit doesn't cut through the other side, spoiling the piece of wood. I don't know how it's going to go, but it's worth a crack, I reckon, because this thing is super versatile and that's just going to give it one more good use. Okay, so in order for me to get this far enough away from the edge so it wouldn't cut through the other side, I did have to have the router bit out quite a way. That's why you'll notice my head is well clear if it does give way. So ideally, I'll find a better bit. And obviously I took my time because of all the different types of wood, so I don't want that router bit jumping through and putting more strain on it. So just again, ideally, if you can't do this technique without having that tip hang on, cut it away. All right, so with the groove cut, it'll take my biscuits. The reason I've cut a complete trench is I can put in as many as I want, but then I'm taking away that maths or brain work to actually get these things to line up. So far so good. So it seems to have gone all right. So I guess the other bonus of running the slot the entire length is if you've got to make some movement to get all your your waterfall to line up, it's going to help you out there. So just sitting on the biscuits, let's have a gander. All right, pretty happy with that. Given how much grief this has caused me in the past, I'm actually very happy with that. I think that's now going to be the routine for me. So I had a mate make these up, and these are purely born out of a little bit of OCD and the grief that miters have caused me in the past. This just lets me know I'm getting a nice 45 glue up on these big corners. Okay, so it might look a little bit excessive, probably is. 90 degrees, keeps him square. They're held down with clamps. I've got downward pressure to clamp in that direction on the 45, and I've got pressure going this way from those clamps. Now with the biscuits, I'm pretty happy, but the end result, to put a square there and see no daylight, for me, I'm very happy.
And check square, check square, check square, check square. And check square again, just in case one of my 10 clamping mechanisms has failed and it's no longer square. But it is, it's all good, moving on.
So this is the end result. I've now lightly hit this with a belt sander just to sharpen up the edge. If you zoom right in, you'll see a tiny gap there. Not a big deal, a little bit of filler. Hopefully in time I'll be able to sort that out. So that's how I make a waterfall edge. I hope you found it useful. From here, I'm gonna do the bricklaying. I'll do the sides, and then I'll put it back onto my base cabinet or the drawer cabinet, and then I'll do the top. So, bit of good fun. Okay, just quickly, I don't normally break my videos down into these 3 parts there. I just thought it was time that I actually showed you how I do some of these things. Next video is going to be all about how I build this complete hallway table. It'll be less talking, more showing. So stick around for that one. Thanks very much for watching, tuning in, commenting and all that good stuff. You're really helping my channel get a good boost along, and I really appreciate it. Thanks very much.